In the small industrial town of Middlesbrough, where gray skies hung low and factory chimneys painted the horizon, lived a young girl named Emma Williams. Her world was small, confined by the narrow streets and the even narrower possibilities that seemed to stretch before her. At 12 years old, Emma had already witnessed more struggle than most children her age. The Williams family knew hardship like an old friend. When the local manufacturing plant shut down, Emma's father, Jack, lost the job he had held for nearly 2 decades. The steady income that once supported their modest life vanished overnight, leaving behind a cloud of uncertainty and fear. Her mother, Margaret, tried to keep hope alive, but Emma could see the worry etched deep in the lines of her face. Their tiny council flat became a symbol of their shrinking world. Paint peeled from the walls and the carpet showed more patches than its original color. Emma shared a small bedroom with her younger brother, Tom, where 2 narrow beds barely left room to move. Every morning she would help her mother patch up clothes, carefully mending worn-out sweaters and turning collars to make them last just a little longer. School was both a refuge and a challenge. Emma was a bright student, with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. But poverty has a way of making itself known, even in the classroom. Her shoes were worn at the edges, her school bag patched multiple times, and her winter coat had seen better days. The other children would sometimes whisper, their eyes casting quick glances that spoke volumes. Despite everything, Emma refused to be defeated. She developed a routine of survival that would make most adults proud. Early mornings saw her collecting bottles from the neighborhood, carefully cleaning them to exchange for a few pennies. After school, she would help Mrs. Thompson next door, running errands and helping with small household tasks. Every coin she earned went straight into a small tin box hidden beneath her bed. Her brother Tom watched her with a mixture of admiration and concern. At 8 years old, he didn't fully understand their family's struggles, but he knew enough to be quiet when money was tight and to appreciate the small treats Emma would occasionally bring home. The local community center became Emma's second home. Here she found resources that her family couldn't provide. Free books, a warm space to study, and kind volunteers who noticed her potential. Miss Roberts, a retired teacher who volunteered at the center, would often slip Emma extra study materials, recognizing the spark of intelligence that burned brightly in the young girl. Winters were the hardest. The drafty flat seemed to grow, colder with each passing day, and Emma would spend hours figuring out ways to keep her family warm. She learned to seal windows with old newspapers, create makeshift draft excluders from rolled-up clothing, and cook warming meals from the most basic ingredients. Her father's unemployment weighed heavily on the family. Jack would sit for hours looking defeated, applying for jobs that seemed to vanish as quickly as they appeared. Emma would watch him, her young mind already understanding the harsh realities of their situation. She became the silent strength of the family, her determination a beacon of hope in their darkest moments. At night, when the world grew quiet, Emma would pull out her treasured notebook. Here, she would write down her dreams, her plans, her hopes for a better future. Each page was a testament to her belief that their current situation was not their final destination. She wrote about going to university, about helping her family, about making a difference. The local library became her sanctuary. While other children played outside, Emma would spend hours reading, learning, dreaming. Books were her escape, her education, her hope. She devoured every piece of knowledge she could find, understanding that education might be the key to changing her family's circumstances. Her mother would sometimes find her late at night curled up with a book, a small lamp casting a warm glow. Margaret would look at her daughter with a mixture of pride and worry, knowing the weight of hope and possibility that Emma carried. In this small town, where dreams often seemed to die with the closing of factory gates, Emma Williams stood as a reminder that hope could bloom in the most unexpected places. Her journey was just beginning, and she was determined to write her own story. The rain fell in heavy sheets that afternoon, turning Middlesbrough's streets into a canvas of gray and wet. Emma pulled her thin jacket tightly around her shoulders, her worn-out shoes splashing through puddles as she walked home from the community center. The weight of grocery bags pulled at her small arms, a routine she had grown accustomed to helping her mother As she turned the corner onto Maple Street, an elderly man struggled with his shopping bags. Mr. Thomas Baker was a familiar figure in the neighborhood, a retired teacher who lived alone in a small terraced house. Most children avoided him, whispering about the grumpy old man who seemed to watch the world from behind his lace curtains. But Emma was different. Without hesitation, she approached Mr. Baker. "Would you like some help, sir?" Her voice was soft, but clear, cutting through the sound of falling rain. Mr. Baker looked surprised, his weathered hands gripping the bags tightly. For a moment he seemed ready to refuse, but something in Emma's eyes made him pause. "That would be kind," he said finally, his voice gravelly but not unkind. As they walked the short distance to his house, Emma carefully balanced the bags. Mr. Baker studied her, the way she moved, the determination in her eyes, the patch on her jacket that spoke of careful mending. "You're Emma Williams," he said. It wasn't a question, but a statement. Inside his small, immaculate house, the walls were lined with books, hundreds of them, covering every available space. Emma's eyes widened. She had never seen so many books in one place outside the library. Mr. Baker noticed her look. "Would you like some tea?" he asked, a hint of softness replacing his usual stern demeanor. Over the next few weeks, an unlikely friendship began to form. Emma would help Mr. Baker with small tasks, sorting his books, helping with groceries, cleaning his modest garden. In return, he began to share something far more valuable: knowledge. He recognized the hunger for learning in her eyes, the same spark he had seen in countless students during his teaching years. Mr. Baker started giving Emma extra lessons: mathematics, English, history, subjects that went beyond her school curriculum. He had old textbooks carefully preserved which he shared with her. Emma discovered a world beyond her small street, beyond her current circumstances. Mr. Baker showed her how education could be a path to something more. "You have potential," he would tell her, his eyes twinning with a mixture of wisdom and hope. But potential needs nurturing. He spoke of scholarships, of opportunities that seemed like distant dreams to Emma's family. For the first time, Emma began to see herself differently, not just as a girl struggling to help her family, but as someone with real possibilities. Her mother was initially suspicious. A strange old man giving her daughter extra lessons? But as she saw Emma's excitement, her improved grades, her growing confidence, Margaret's worry began to transform into cautious hope. Mr. Baker was careful, always ensuring their meetings were proper, always with the door open, always focused on education. The neighborhood began to notice the change in Emma. The girl who once blended into the background now carried herself with a quiet confidence. Mr. Baker's lessons weren't just about academic subjects. They were about self-belief, about understanding that circumstances do not define destiny. On cold afternoons, they would sit in his book-lined living room. Mr. Baker would share stories of his teaching days, of students who had gone on to do remarkable things. Emma would listen, her notebook always close, capturing every piece of wisdom. Her worn-out pencil would dance across the pages, recording not just words, but possibilities. "Education is the great equalizer," Mr. Baker would often say. "It doesn't care about where you come from, only where you can go." These words became Emma's mantra, a light guiding her through the darkness of her family's economic struggles. As winter approached, their friendship deepened. Mr. Baker became more than a teacher. He became a mentor, a beacon of hope. He saw in Emma a reflection of his younger self, that same burning desire to learn, to grow, to become something more. Little did Emma know that this unexpected friendship would become the turning point in her life's journey, a bridge between her current reality and the future she was just beginning to imagine. The scholarship announcement came like a whisper of hope through Middlesbrough Comprehensive School. A single opportunity that could change everything, the Regional Academic Excellence Scholarship, offering full educational support for one exceptional student. The prize seemed almost magical: complete tuition, books, and a small monthly stipend that could transform a family's entire future. Emma's mathematics teacher, Mrs. Peterson, pulled her aside one gray morning. "You have a real chance," she said, her eyes bright with unexpected excitement. "But the competition will be tough." The scholarship was open to students across the northern industrial towns, attracting the brightest minds from families with more resources, better connections, and smoother paths. At home, Emma shared the news carefully. Her mother, Margaret, listened with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Money had always been their greatest challenge, and this scholarship represented more than just education. It was a potential escape from their constant financial struggle. Her father, Jack, still wrestling with unemployment, looked at his daughter with a quiet pride that spoke volumes. Mr. Baker became Emma's secret weapon. Their study sessions transformed into strategic preparation. He understood the scholarship. Exam would test more than just academic knowledge. It would examine problem-solving, critical thinking, and potential. Late afternoons in his book-filled living room became intense study marathons. "Mathematics is not just about numbers," Mr. Baker would explain, spreading old examination papers across his wooden table. "It's about understanding patterns, seeing connections others might miss." He taught Emma techniques beyond standard curriculum, ways of breaking down complex problems, strategies for quick mental calculations. Emma's studying became a delicate dance. Household chores, helping her mother, supporting her younger brother Tom, and preparing for the most important examination of her life. She would wake before dawn, studying by the soft light of a small lamp, her worn notebook filled with calculations and notes. Her family watched her transformation with a mixture of awe and concern. Her mother would leave small cups of tea beside her. Her father would ensure she had enough space to concentrate. Tom would sit quietly, watching his sister with a combination of admiration and curiosity. The local community center became her second study hall. Volunteers who knew her story would offer additional support, extra books, quiet study spaces, occasional additional tutoring. Emma's determination had begun to inspire those around her, a quiet fire that refused to be extinguished by circumstances. Practice. Examinations became her ritual. Mr. Baker would create mock tests, timing her, analyzing her approach. He taught her not just to solve problems, but to understand the thinking behind them. "Your mind is your greatest asset," he would remind her. "Not your shoes, not your address, but your ability to think." As the examination date approached, tension grew. Emma's school noticed her intense preparation. Teachers who had previously seen her as just another student from a struggling family now watched her with newfound respect. Her mathematics teacher began providing extra support, recognizing the potential brewing within this determined young girl. The night before the examination, her family gathered around her. No grand speeches, no excessive pressure, just a quiet understanding of what this moment meant. Her mother mended her only good shirt, her father ensured her pencils were sharpened, Tom offered his lucky rubber, a small gesture of sibling support. Mr. Baker's final advice rang in her ears. "Believe in yourself more than the examination. Your worth is not determined by a single test, but by your determination to keep learning." Emma understood this was more than a personal challenge. This was her family's hope, her community's potential, her own dream taking shape. The scholarship represented a bridge between her current reality and a future filled with possibilities. As she prepared her school bag, carefully placing her carefully preserved pencils, her examination slip, and a small photograph of her family, Emma felt something remarkable. It wasn't just nervousness or hope. It was a quiet, burning certainty that she was ready. The examination would be tomorrow. One day that could change everything. One opportunity to prove that where you come from does not determine where you can go. One chance to transform not just her life but her family's entire future. Emma Williams closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and smiled. She was ready. The examination hall felt like a different world. Rows of wooden desks, bright fluorescent lights, and the nervous energy of students filled the space. Emma sat in the third row, her carefully sharpened pencils arranged precisely. her worn but clean shirt a testament to her mother's careful preparation. As the examination papers were distributed, Emma took a deep breath. Mr. Baker's words echoed in her mind. Breathe. Read carefully. Think strategically. The mathematics section came first, her strongest subject. The problems were complex, but not impossible. Each equation was a puzzle, each solution a small victory. Her hand moved confidently across the paper. Where other students might hesitate, Emma saw patterns. Her years of careful study, of learning beyond her circumstances, began to shine through. The challenging problems that made other students nervous became opportunities for her to demonstrate her skills. Around her, students shifted uncomfortably. Some looked stressed, others seemed defeated. But Emma remained focused. She remembered her family's struggles, Mr. Baker's guidance, the hope that rode on this single examination. Each solved problem felt like a step towards a different future. The English section challenged her differently. Here it wasn't just about right or wrong answers, but about understanding, interpretation, creative thinking. Emma drew from her extensive reading, the books from Mr. Baker's library, the countless hours spent in the local library, her own carefully collected knowledge. Halfway through the examination, something remarkable happened. Emma realized she wasn't just taking a test, she was proving something, to herself, to her family, to the community that had often overlooked her. Her background didn't define her, her mind did. Time seemed to both fly and stand still. The scratching of pencils, the occasional cough, the shuffle of examination papers, all became background noise. Emma was in her own world of numbers, words, and possibilities. When the final bell rang, signaling the end of the examination, Emma felt different. Not relieved, not exhausted, but hopeful. She had given everything she could. Her preparation, her hard work, her determination, all of it was on that paper. The waiting was the hardest part. Days turned into weeks. Her family tried to maintain hope, but Emma could see the worry in their eyes. Mr. Baker remained her pillar of strength, reminding her that the examination was just one step in her journey. Then came the day. A large envelope arrived, addressed to Emma Williams. Her entire family gathered around as she opened it, her hands slightly trembling. The first line changed everything. Congratulations. You have been selected for the Regional Academic Excellence Scholarship. Her mother burst into tears. Her father, usually reserved, hugged her tightly. Tom jumped around the small living room, not fully understanding, but sensing the significance of the moment. Mr. Baker, who had come to hear the news, stood quietly, in the doorway, a proud smile on his face. The scholarship wasn't just about money. It was a validation of Emma's hard work, her family's support, her community's belief, full tuition, book allowance, a monthly stipend. Opportunities that seemed impossible just months ago now became real. News spread quickly through their small community. The local corner shop owner congratulated her, the community center volunteers celebrated, her school teachers looked at her with newfound respect. Emma had become more than just a student from a struggling family. She had become a symbol of hope. That evening, as her family celebrated with a simple meal, Emma looked around. The same small flat, the same worn furniture, but everything felt different. She had changed the trajectory of her family's future with her determination, her intelligence, her unwavering belief in herself. Mr. Baker's words came back to her. Education is the great equalizer. She now understood exactly what he meant. Her background, her economic circumstances, the challenges she had faced, none of these would define her future. She would. The scholarship was more than a piece of paper. It was a promise to herself, to her family, to her community, a promise that hard work, determination, and belief could overcome any obstacle. Emma Williams had turned a challenge into an opportunity. And this was just the beginning of her journey. 5 years passed and the transformation was remarkable. Emma Williams, once a young girl from a struggling family in Middlesbrough, now walked the halls of the University of Manchester with confidence and purpose. The scholarship that had once seemed like a distant dream had become her reality. Her family's life had changed dramatically. The monthly stipend had helped stabilize their finances. Her father, Jack, found steady work at a local logistics company. Her mother, Margaret, started a small home-based catering business, bringing in additional income. Tom, now a teenager, was excelling in his studies, inspired by his sister's journey. University was more than just an educational experience for Emma. It was a world of possibilities she had only imagined. She chose to study education, driven by a burning desire to help children from backgrounds similar to her own. Mr. Baker's influence was clear in her choice. She wanted to be the support system for students who needed it most. Her academic performance was exceptional. Professors noticed not just her intelligence, but her unique perspective. Emma understood education differently, not as a privilege, but as a fundamental right. She became involved in various student support programs, helping first-generation university students navigate their academic journeys. During her second year, Emma started volunteering at local schools in underprivileged areas. She would spend weekends running extra study sessions, providing mentorship, and offering the kind of support Mr. Baker had once given her. Her personal story became a source of inspiration for many struggling students. Mr. Baker, now in his late 70s, watched her journey with immense pride. Their friendship had only grown stronger over the years. He would visit her at university, share cups of tea, and discuss her progress. The old teacher, who had once been seen as a distant figure in the neighborhood, was now celebrated as a local hero who had helped shape Emma's path. Her family's transformation was subtle but significant. The tiny council flat had been replaced with a small but comfortable house. Her parents spoke with a newfound confidence. Tom was preparing for his own university applications, no longer seeing financial constraints as an insurmountable barrier. Emma's final year project focused on educational support for students from low-income backgrounds. Her research, personal experiences, and innovative solutions caught the attention of local educational authorities. She wasn't just studying education, she was working to change it. As graduation approached, Emma received multiple job offers, but her heart was set on returning to Middlesbrough. She wanted to create the same opportunities for other children that she had received. The local comprehensive school offered her a teaching position, a chance to directly impact the community that had supported her. Her first day as a teacher was emotional. Standing in the same classrooms where she once sat as a struggling student, Emma understood the power of belief. She saw herself in the eyes of her students, those quiet, determined children who needed someone to see their potential. Mr. Baker attended her graduation ceremony, his eyes filled with tears. The community that had once overlooked her now celebrated her achievements. The local newspaper ran a story about her journey, from a struggling family to a university graduate committed to making a difference. Emma's story became more than a personal success. It became a beacon of hope for Middlesbrough. Young students began to see education differently. Parents started believing in the power of their children's dreams. The community started understanding that potential knows no economic boundaries. Her family's pride was immeasurable. Her mother would often tell neighbors, "My daughter showed us that hope is not just a word, it's a path." Her father, once defeated by unemployment, now spoke with renewed confidence about the power of education and determination. As she settled into her new role as a teacher, Emma never forgot where she came from. Each lesson was a tribute to Mr. Baker, to her family's struggles, to the community that had supported her. She wasn't just teaching subjects, she was teaching hope, resilience, and the extraordinary power of believing in oneself. The small girl from the council flat had become something more. Emma Williams was now a symbol of transformation, a living proof that with education, support, and unwavering determination, anything is possible. Her journey was just beginning, but she was ready, completely and absolutely ready.